Alright guys, so every single video I've seen about the new 2020 iMac has essentially been like it's the best iMac for most people. I agree with that. It's amazing. I mostly agree with that. And it's like, hey, it's a pretty good buy right now. I pretty much agree with that. But then I've also seen this take that I actually have perpetrated myself. I've been like, and nobody should buy the iMac Pro. Like, get the new iMac, but whatever you do, don't buy the base iMac Pro or anything because it's just not that good. Up until I started using the new 2020 iMac. There's been a lot of hype around the camera being so much better and the microphones being so much better, and it's the upgrade that a lot of people were waiting for. And while that's true in isolation, the iMac Pro is still better at like a lot of really important things. The quality of the speakers, the quality of the mics, potentially the quality of the camera being better on the iMac Pro as well, but above everything else, thermal management. All right, I got some thoughts on this, and I'm a little bit disappointed in the new iMac. Like, yeah, it's faster than my iMac Pro, spec-wise, but a lot of the peripherals are off to me, and it confuses me because they're in the exact same body. So I want to talk about that today. Drop a like if you're excited, hit subscribe for more. Here's my case for why you actually might want to get the iMac Pro instead of the iMac. All right, first up on my list, most important thing here that no one has mentioned is the difference in thermal management. So the iMac Pro has a completely different thermal system inside the machine to cool itself. And I mean completely different. Like, Apple makes you believe that they're like the same kind of internals. No, like everything internally is almost different between these two, which confuses me, but that's just how it is. I got my new iMac, I'm super excited, and within minutes I'm hearing a fan come on when I'm editing a video, especially when I'm playing like League of Legends, like a somewhat, not even insanely graphically intense game. And I'm like, there's a fan on the iMac? Because if you're an iMac Pro user, you know that you never hear the fan. And even when the fan is on, it is silent. Like, you can do anything on the iMac Pro. It doesn't matter if you're doing teraflops of computing or like 1 byte a second. You don't hear the fan. And even if you do, it doesn't actually like register. Like, it's so quiet and so low, you just never hear it. Dude, the fan on the new iMac is so loud. I mean, you can see it's already sleeping on me back here. Is this a big deal for most of you? Maybe not. If you're somebody that does video recording, podcasting, something creative where you're recording audio, maybe even music production, might be something to think about there. And like I've said, no one has really mentioned this. It's just been like, don't buy iMac Pro. And I played into that as well. And then I started using the new iMac, and I'm like, wow, the fan is going a lot. Does it actually matter depending on what you're doing? Maybe not. But does it affect your audio recording sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. The fan comes on pretty quick on the new iMac. Now, I have spec'd it out. I have upgraded some things on the inside. But still, more fan noise than I'm used to, especially because I've been a bit spoiled here. It's amazing. Like, whatever Apple's done with the iMac Pro, it's out of this world. Second, Apple makes such a huge deal, not only about the camera, which we'll get to in a moment, but about the new microphones. They got a 3-mic studio array with directional beamforming. Now, nobody actually gets what that means. It just means your voice sounds a lot better. And compared to the last iMac, it sounds better. But the iMac Pro has 4 microphones that have directional beamforming, and audio on the iMac Pro sounds better. Again, you might be thinking, well, if Apple already had done it on the iMac Pro, why didn't they just copy and paste it? Like, the inside is so similar. So here's me using the new 2020 iMac mic, and it's better. It's definitely a little bit of an upgrade. I wouldn't call it studio quality, as Apple has gone to say. Next up is the iMac Pro, which has been out for a little bit, and you can see it sounds just a little bit better than the iMac because it has 4 studio quality mics, but it is good. I'm sitting like literally regular distance, like probably 1.5 to 2 feet away from the iMac. It's decent, it's better than using a little MacBook mic that used to be really bad back in the day. I don't know why the engineering team made that decision, but the mics on the newest iMac still aren't as good as a 3-year-old iMac. Something to think about. Something that's also like, like, you're not going to probably be doing podcasting with the mics. I wouldn't recommend it. Even the Pro iMac's mics aren't good enough to, like, I don't know, listen to in a car or something. But for FaceTime calls, for Zooms, if that's something you're going to be doing a lot, then objectively, it is a better sound on the iMac Pro. Camera is a weird one. All right, so they're both 1080p cameras at this point. They're both the highest quality cameras on a Mac, but still not 4K. It's still like all right video quality. I did a couple of tests, and like consistently, the data rate on the iMac Pro was higher than on the iMac. So they're both 1080p, but like the amount of data in every frame was just a little bit higher, and it added up a little bit more quickly than on the iMac. It's kind of a weird one, super niche. This is one that you're pretty much not going to notice, but if you look really, really closely at a couple of images, the iMac Pro again gets it. Like it's got a slightly better system. But what does matter again as well is Apple making a big deal about the new speakers on the iMac. They're so much better, they're so much clearer. I noticed immediately the second I played something on the iMac coming from the iMac Pro, it's like, whoa, they don't sound as good. I got a second opinion from my dad, who literally sells audio equipment for a living, and he was like, yeah, it sounds a little bit muffled. It sounds very, very compressed. You go to the iMac Pro, that's because they say that there's stereo speakers on both. They have done something amazing with the audio on the iMac Pro. Again, this is not like breakthrough info that I'm sharing. I'm simply putting this out here to make a couple points that it seems like, and for me, who is into tech, when I saw the new iMac, I was like, oh, this blows the iMac Pro out of the water. Like, it's not even close. But the iMac Pro has so much more room for mobility, and it's a lot more expensive. But it's also missing out on some of these key features that it seems like Apple could have relatively easily transferred. We're talking, again, this model's been out since December of 2017. And in 2 years, they decided to go a different but lesser route with the iMac than putting the best possible hardware they could have, probably because it cost too much money. For some of you, it actually may make more sense, rather than speccing out this iMac up to $5,000, which is what I did, to buy the new iMac Pro that's $5,000. You can find a better deal on it probably for around $4,500 with the new 10-core processor inside. And that 10-core processor will be extremely comparable to the now 10-core processor that they carry in the iMac. So I want to hear your thoughts on this down below. I know this is sort of a niche video, but even myself, I was like, all right, like I know that there are some big differences, but I didn't really know how big the differences were. And I was very misled by Apple's marketing. I thought that this new iMac was just better in every way, since it's been 3 years almost since the iMac Pro got touched. But the 2017 hardware in there for thermal management, the camera, the speakers, and the microphone, and the ports are all better than the computer that released last week in 2020. So something to think about, food for thought. I don't know if it probably complicates your purchase decision. I know it did for me, because now I'm like, do I want to keep the new iMac, or am I happy with what I had? Probably going to keep the new one, but man, I'm going to miss Space Gray. So pour one out for me in the comments down below. Space Gray gang, until we meet again, probably on Apple Silicon. All right, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something new. If you did, drop a like, hit subscribe for more, and I'll see all of you in the next video.